There's some
Yes.
question?
There is a question from Pavan Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
What kind of tolerance did Mahaprabhu mention in his Sikshastakam? What in particular should we tolerate?
Well, Srila Gurudev, always getting to the heart of the matter, or to the fine point, he said, tolerating that which is intolerable. Because we could make a case that some things are, we have to tolerate all kinds of things every day of every life. So he's ratcheting it up a little bit to get more specific and saying, to really benefit from this instruction, to tolerate that which is just intolerable. So sometimes that's in the form of circumstances, other people. We can say like adidevik, adiatmik, adibhotik. That's in a general sense. We know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling Arjuna, matra sparshastu konteya, shitoshna sukha dukkada, agama paino nityas, tangs titikshasva bharata. Titiksha means tolerance. And he's saying the world is like seasonal changes. The old cliche or joke, at least in English, they say, everyone talks about the weather, but no one does anything about it. Because you can't. You have no choice but to tolerate it. If it rains, what are you going to do? You can't, you're not Krishna, running toward Govardhan Hill where his Leela Shakti shields him from raindrops. Right? So not a drop of water touches him. Not being Krishna, we can't expect this. Not a blade of grass moves without the will of God. But all others find themselves in another position, a position of having to tolerate. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, these things, happiness, distress. And someone's happy, they're depressed. You have to tolerate it. Told in some place, devotees, they don't go too much in either direction. Just recognizing this is the cycle. That's what he's saying. Happiness, unhappiness, comfort, discomfort, an opulent situation, an impoverished situation. Tangs titikshasva. You have to tolerate. So Guru Maharaj will say, that's message of the Bhagavad Gita. That's a type of tolerance. But Guru Maharaj will say, and thematically, of course it's correct understanding, saying the Bhagavatam takes it to another level. In the verse, Tatenu kampam susamikshmano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam, says that samiksha means to examine, susamiksha means like to scrutinize, that whatever intolerable, to stay on theme here, whatever intolerable circumstances we find ourselves in, that if we look deeply, if we can look beyond the superficial and look deeply, behind it we'll see the friendly hand of Krishna, that this has not come to take me down, but rather to promote me. Another meaning of examine, unlike in the other sense, examination. Generally, students don't like tests, examination, which includes sometimes the flash quiz. I mean, suddenly in the middle of the lesson, teacher says, close the books, and gives an unexpected test. There are certain tests that are expected. Right? Also in the life of devotee, they can expect certain things. Test. But sometimes in the middle of the lesson, close the books, flash quiz, an unexpected test. The students would be wrong to think that their teacher is cruel. And, oh, what a cruel teacher we have. She is giving us this test now unexpectedly. No, actually the teacher is concerned about the welfare of the students, the education of the students, wants to make sure that they haven't become inattentive in their lessons and are only making a show of attentiveness or grasping the subject matter. So the flash quiz, the unexpected test, is also meant for promotion. All examinations are not meant to fail students. They may sometimes, in their self-pity, think this is unfair, but it's not so. And the teacher's purpose is not to fail them, have them fail, but for them to be promoted to the next level. So, Durgam patastat kavayo vidanti, on a spiritual path, Durgam, Durga, in this sense means obstacle. And the Upanishads are telling, there are many obstacles on the spiritual path. So, have to see things with the proper angle of vision. So Guru Maharaj is telling us, the Bhagavatam says, try and look beyond the immediate unpleasantness or undesirability of the circumstance and see what's going on in the background, how Krishna is dealing with me in a way that will promote me. So often Guru Maharaj invokes Hegel, saying die to live. And that's how the intolerable can be tolerated, that as we are at present, it's intolerable, then we'll have to die as we are to live in a plane where the intolerable is tolerable. Unless we think that that's something that only we have to deal with. The great devotees, they have to deal without. What to speak of the great devotees? Krishna himself, how tolerant he must be. We were speaking recently about his aspect of paramatma. And sometimes I think about that, not only with regard to myself, but everyone, and what Guru Maharaj calls the whole animation, meaning every living being. The paramatma is there accompanying the jiva, and we can say, in modern terminology, is non-judgmental, passive. What sort of tolerance does there have to be to accompany these jivas through all these circumstances? What to speak of one life, sometimes in the lower species here, where it's like a zoo. There's no need to go to a zoo. We have our own zoo here, especially at this time of year. And what to speak if it should rain, we'll see many more of the insects and reptiles come out. Paramatma in all of them. So what a tolerant position. That's, from that sort of point of view, being non-judgmental and tolerating. But from another point of view, what all the statements of atheistic persons, or those who do not appreciate the divinity of Krishna, who's supplying them the air of life with which to voice atheistic sentiments? Krishna. And sometimes they're saying the most terrible things about Krishna. And he's tolerating. In the Kapila instructions to Devahuti, Kapila Dev said, it's describing, what is a sadhu, or sadhu-like qualities, the qualities that we should aspire to, because of course we will say, well, we're not sadhus. Yes, but we're aspiring servants of sadhu. We try and follow their lead. We can't dismiss every instruction on the basis, it's too high, it's for the saints, it's like the Grand Inquisitor, the Brothers Karamazov of Dostoevsky, when he's speaking to Jesus. But first I should say what Kapila says to Devahuti, Titikshava karunika suhridam sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shanta sarva sadhu bhushana. Sarva sadhu bhushana. These are the qualities that decorate, that ornament the sadhu. First one, titikshava. Titikshava karunika. Tolerant, merciful, suhrida sarvadehinam, best friend of everyone. Like anyone who interacted with Srila Gurudev feels like he's their best friend. Of course, Janardhan Maharaj will remind me that Gurudev said he is his best friend. But then Yudhamani will say, but Gurudev said he's his, what is it? It's similar to best friend, but like better. Or something. And I mean, they both say this with a smile on their face, but the point is, Gurudev makes you feel that. Most important friend, best friend, dearest friend, supreme most dearest friend. And everyone, they feel that. And for them, they don't think, oh, he said this to others. If Gurudev takes the phone, like, oh, I'm so happy to hear your sweet voice. On the other end of the phone, they went, oh, Gurudev said he's happy to hear my sweet voice. They don't think like, oh, he said this to many, or he said many, you're my best friend, you're my dearest. Then I think like, well, but doesn't Krishna say that? Bhoktaram Yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam, everyone's dear most friend. Saying, you're my dear most friend. He's saying, Arjun, you're my dearest. Uddhava, you're my dearest. But we could say, Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakritama. Of all the priyas, he also says, most dear to me are those who are giving Krishna conception to others. But even following that thread, we will always, ultimately, inevitably conclude, take us to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and the highest conception of Sri Guru, Srimati Radharani. Kintu Prabhu ya Priya evatasya. Prabhu Priya, the one who, of all the dears, the one who is most dear to Krishna. And everyone will agree to that. Everyone, no one has a problem with that. But Titikshava Karunika, compassionate, Suhridam Sarvadehinam, dearmost friend of everyone. Why? Because he's giving them Krishna. And Guru Gauranga, that's the best friend of everybody, not someone who gives something else or gives facility for extending mundane life. Ajata Shatravashanta, and they know no enemy. Like, what is the name of Yudhisthira Maharaj? Ajatra, I forget. Means no enemy. I forget the next word. Have a god brother with that here. And as I said, we shouldn't dismiss these things as being impossible. We say everything is possible by the grace of Sri Guru. The impossible becomes possible. So the Grand Inquisitor and Brothers Karamazov telling Jesus that besides you and a few of your saint friends, no one can follow these things. It's too, and the inability to follow leads people to feel so much guilt, a paralyzing guilt inside, because they're unable to follow these standards. Saying so, and what was big mistake that you made telling everyone that it's up to them. They have free will. They ultimately decide all these things. That people can't handle it. They can't handle free will. It's too much of a burden. So we have them giving us their free will on a golden plate, and we let them sin a little bit, and they're okay with it. Everybody's happy. He's saying, so I don't see, although you got this, you started this, I don't see how you would fit in the present administration. But that's the argument of the Grand Inquisitor to Jesus Christ, that only you and a few of your saint friends can follow these things. But if we don't accept and become acquainted with what the actual standard is, then how do we know what to try for, at least? So if Gurudev's saying, tolerate that which is intolerable, so many examples in his own life of also doing that. So Mahaprabhu, again, this is Sikshastakam, 8 instructions he gives. So we think, well, as one man said, the Guru Maharaj, getting all excited about all the prospects of Krishna consciousness, all the good things are said, and in anticipation of that and eager for that, he said, and how? And he said, well, then you're told this you'll have to follow. Trinadapi sunicena tororapi sahishnuna amani na manadena kirtaniya sadahri. And the man said, no, that is impossible. Yes, as we are at present, impossible. So therefore, Guru Maharaj, die to live. You'll have to sacrifice some aspect of yourself to show that type of toleration. Krishna praising the trees in Vrindavan as he and Balaram, arm in arm, they're with their cowherd boyfriend going through the forest of Vrindavan. And you think, oh, look, these trees. It speaks as if they're all worshipping Balaram. They're bending over, offering you their fruits, their dandavats, and they're all in love with you, and they're such magnanimous souls because they live for others. There's also that concept. Why to tolerate? Gurudev would say, because Guru Maharaj tolerated so much for me, therefore I must tolerate so much of others. For others, the sake of others, as another perspective. Krishna is saying, these trees, they live for the benefit of others. They're providing shade and fruit, and we hear in explanations of Mahaprabhu's Sikshastakam instruction that even, maybe it's a hot day when a man is chopping down a tree, the tree is providing shade while being cut. That type of toleration. You're being attacked and providing shelter at the same time, not withdrawing shelter because you're being attacked. And we say, well, this Vaishnavism, they expect you to, this is beyond what a man can do. So yes, it's divine. It's a divine movement that's meant to elevate one to a higher position. Only possible by the grace of superiors and the willingness to die to live. The Guru Maharaj said that's the meaning of Yagya. The sacrifice, while something real and substantial, Agni and Sahadevi, still, he's saying, is symbolic in another sense of offering ourselves into the fire of self-sacrifice. And what was the original idea? When they had these different types of sacrifices, what's offered in comes out with new life in a higher position. So Mahaprabhu, if we can understand, even from this perspective, it's mentioned in the beginning of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, what's described as Brahman, he's that. Paramatma, he's that. So think of it another way. Do we think Mahaprabhu is giving some sort of instruction that's not relevant? Somehow, despite being omniscient, and in his localized aspect, being in the heart of every living being, ourselves included, knowing more about our thoughts, our lives, our many, many lives, than we ourselves know. Although we think we know ourselves very well. As Krishna tells Arjuna, Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharjuna. Arjuna, you and I, we both have many different incarnations. I remember all of mine, you don't. Not only that, I remember all of yours. So that person whose localized aspect is the paramatma. So we think, somehow, and these gave instructions that are too high for anybody to actually follow. Didn't understand what would actually be more appropriate to tell people. Right? Somehow this Sikshastakam and this maybe got overwhelmed. Started speaking all sorts of things that are just not practical for anyone to follow, including devotees, aspiring devotees. That's impossible. And that's the conclusion of that, the sort of misconception or thinking. Rather, we should think, no, he understands perfectly what we need to hear, where we need to direct our focus. And as I saw Srila Gurudev sitting beneath this shloka, Trinad api sunicena, toror api. Kaviraj Goswami says, garland yourself, wear it like a garland. And I asked Gurudev once, because he is saying this once a day, few times a day, every day. I said, it's kind of a simple question, when did you realize this, the way you're putting so much emphasis on it? And he said, oh, Maharaj, nothing else works. He said, out of desperation, having tried everything, exhausting all other possibilities, I came to the conclusion that this is actually effective. It's effective personally and collectively for those in the position of giving direction to others. As Guru Maharaj once parsed amanina manadena by saying, if you're willing to give position to others, your position will be enhanced. And if you want to keep position from others, you go down. And he's saying these three things, one of them with going in two directions. He said Kirtaniya Sadahari means, the Krishna consciousness movement. You'll be able to go on with the Krishna consciousness movement if you employ these principles. You see in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu how humble are his devotees and tolerant. That Kolavece Sridhar. Take one banana tree, has enough money to get like one felled banana tree. And then take that banana tree and cut it in different ways to make those banana cups and things. And he somehow, and with that money he gets from the sale, which is a very small amount, 50% of that is for Ganga Puja. And the other 50% somehow living on that. And Nimai Pandit is coming and saying, oh, such nice cups you have. How much are those? And he said, oh, here's the price. And this is someone who's known to never cheat anyone a pie. Tells Mahaprabhu the price. Mahaprabhu saying, well, they're selling these cheaper elsewhere. He's saying, then buy from them. No, but I want to buy from you. If you would give the right price, then I would buy from you. But I'm charging the least. But others are selling for less. Go to them, no, from you. Then Mahaprabhu start, and they're going like this. Nimai Pandit he's pulling back. But it mentioned, so he's taking his livelihood from him actually. His means of sustenance. And it's mentioned, perhaps by Saraswati Thakur in Chaitanya Bhagavad, that no anger on either side. This play is going back and forth, tug of war between the Lord and his devotee. And at last, of course, Kolavece Sridhar will concede to Mahaprabhu. But then when the time came, we know Mahaprabhu is descended for Bhaktabhav, to experience Bhaktabhav, the heart of a devotee, devotion, culminating in Radhabhav. But that's why this one pastime in particular, is a little extraordinary. Not a little, but Mahaprakash. It's 21 hours where he is all the incarnations. 21 hours of nonstop divinity. It's not really why he came. I mean, in one sense, it's interesting. This is like a side, a footnote or sidebar. 21 hours of full divine manifestation, where he sits on the Singhasan of Vishnu, of the deity, and he's there and offering benedictions to all the devotees. And when he asked Kolavece Sridhar something, he first of all says, I can't properly glorify you, as repeatedly devotees say. Saying only you can really make proper prayers or praise. And so Nimai Pandit has Shuddha Saraswati descend upon his tongue. It's a very beautiful thing, as if he's saying, like, telling her. And then so many prayers from the tongue of Kolavece Sridhar. And one of the praise he says that in innumerable universes, innumerable, divinely realized souls, they're carrying you in their mind and mentality. He said, but you carried the cowherd Sridham on your shoulders. That I find peculiarly charming. And those Vrindavan pastimes. It struck me there, and and say the pastimes of Vishnu. He's riding on the shoulders of Garuda, and it's a very wonderful thing. I mean, we worship that. And you always see Garuda flying, and Vishnu, and sometimes Krishna, Dwarka Krishna. But in Krishna Leela, a reversal takes place on account of more intimate affection. And what is the reversal? Is the devotee is riding on the shoulders of the Lord. You say, well, what's the difference between... There's the difference right there. Both are worshipable. One on the shoulders of Garuda, Vishnu or Krishna riding there. And beautiful vision. And how the devotee feels. But Kolavece Sridhar saying, but Sridham on your shoulders, and you're like flying, going around, and Sridham is on your shoulders, and you seem to be so happy. Where the infinite comes under the control of the finite. We say, well, Krishna on the chariot of Arjuna, that's also a wonderful thing. But Sridham on the shoulders of Krishna is, from one point of view, unthinkable. But that's why we're told Vrindavan is the domain, the exclusive domain of the highest section of liberated souls. So, and this is noteworthy. So he's appreciating that. That's part of the praise that he's giving. So when Mahaprabhu is saying, this is the Mahaprakash, I give you whatever, take something. No one's going away today empty-handed. Ask for something. He said, no, I have it. No, you must ask for something. And what does he say? That person who comes and, steals from me, who's robbing me, at my little plantain stand, that he will be my Lord life after life after life. That I want. And that I will have devotion to him and to his holy name, that I'll be able to vibrate his holy name. That's my request. And of course, all the devotees are very happy to hear that.